Check. Okay. How's everyone doing today? Thanks for joining us. Today we're here to talk about hiring in Web3. My name's Chris Spikoski. I'm co-founder of Coalition of Parents in Esports. We are a nonprofit organization geared towards empowering parents, kids, educators to get the most out of their esports and Web3 journeys, careers, through scholarships and programs. Also, the community lead for Vibe Bio. This biotech company, community built around patients, scientists, doctors, advocates, to kind of redefine how drug research and funding gets done for rare diseases. But again, we're here for hiring in Web3 and to discuss how the Web3 economy has affected hiring for not just employers, but employees as well. About a year ago, 2021, a lot of people were very excited. A lot of life-changing money here, life-changing careers. However, the market's taking a little bit of a downturn. People are finding some trouble finding jobs, hiring. A lot of layoffs, not just in Web 2, but in Web 3. I've heard comparisons from 2017, 2018, the bear market. I've heard comparisons to the .com boom and bust. But out of those, there was a lot of regrowth, and a lot of great things were built during that time. But before we get into the questions, I want to give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves and just tell a little bit about what you do.
Well, cool. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Adam Posner. I am the founder of NHP Talent Group, recruiting in Web 2, and Probably Nothing Talent, Web 3 recruiting. I'm also a host of the Podcast, Top Global Career Podcast, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, and amazing people from all different types of walks of life and unpack their career and life journey. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Hey everybody, my name is Nin. I'm the CEO of Snapbilia. We are building a marketplace of opportunities, and we connect those opportunities with developers in developing countries, especially with focus on Africa. And we onboard people who normally would not know about the amazing things that a lot of the Web3 projects are building, and give people opportunities where they would not have otherwise. Previously, I built startups that did AI hiring software in Web 2 for Google, Facebook, Amazon, and others. And namely in 2020, we helped almost 1 million people land jobs while all the companies were laying off. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Beth Salas Howell. I'm also a social audio host on Twitter at Mary Beth Salas. Today I'm here representing Ryan Labs, where I am the head of operations and branding. As the head of operations and branding, I wear many hats. One of them does include recruitment, as well as corresponding with attorneys, accountants, and all the fun stuff that most DGens do not see on a daily basis. Thank you.
Howdy, my name is Nicholas Strange, and I'm the founder and CEO of Crypto Talent. We are a global HR services firm specialized in Web3. We do talent acquisition consulting, team agility, agile coaching, as well as professional development services, all specialized here in this greater crypto world.
And I'm Joshua Lapidus, founding steward of Opolis and SporkDAO, which is the parent DAO to Eat Denver. Opolis is a member-owned digital employment cooperative that employs independent workers, freelancers, self-employed, and DAO employees, which is an important part of why we're here. And the thing that I would say is with hiring in Web3 is do not hire direct in Web3. Hire B2B relationships, and we can get into that. Yeah, that's me.
Perfect. Thank you all. Appreciate it. I came out of the esports world, still closely tied to the esports world. I've seen a lot of kids come out of the industry. And when I say kids, I'm talking like 13 to 23-year-olds come out of the industry with arts backgrounds, community backgrounds, marketing, promotions. What do you all feel is the most in demand, or what are some of the most in demand jobs in Web3 right now? You can start down there.
Sure. So among the maybe 500-ish members that we have, the most common is like Web3 developer. That's not particularly astute information. Does anybody have actual statistics?
Not so much hard statistics right now, but if I'm using a small sample set of our specific Web3 clients right now, a lot of project management with a technical background in some of the Web3 skills that they need in the platforms, and also product management and product marketing with the Web3 focus. That's what I'm seeing on my end. But I think it really comes down to, and I think we'll have a good conversation about this, is the transferable skills. What are those skills that we could take from Web 2 and bring them over to Web 3? And what really are those Web 3 skills? Because we're still so new at all this and nascent. How much experience do people actually have versus what our companies and clients need? That's a balance.
I would say, like in line with that, one of the most sought after skills is for people to be critical consumers of the technology themselves. In order to be able to create products and write code that are going to solve the pain points and problems that consumers are facing, you must first be a critical consumer of that technology yourself, right? And then from a transferable skills perspective, I think 0 to 1 experience, like whether it's a Web 2 experience, you're in an incubator building, new age tech within a company like Google, the greenfield blue sky projects. Those types of people that know like how aggressive and how much those have to scale so quickly do really, really well in Web3, because Web3 is the wild, wild west, and it's really, really hard. There's no technical documentation. There's no roadmap. You're building it yourself, and so being able to have that experience, I think, of what we've seen is the most success in hiring and having companies be able to scale.
So one thing that I've learned working at Ryan Labs, so Ryan Labs owns Crooks NFT and the Humanoids NFT, right? So Trevor Farbo started with the Crooks and then acquired the Humanoids. So we have two very large communities. They were both very fast mint outs, right? And when you have all those community members, you have a lot of data, you have a lot of people, and then the question is, now what? One skill that is always brought up, whether in my B2B conversations or even internally at Ryan Labs, is brand partnerships. First of all, what is that job? What is the title of that job? And I think that even coming up with, hey, what position is that? Or what do we call that? Is that sales? Is that more of a marketing partnership role? And so, kind of sidebar, I've been finding in my conversations with a lot of NFT or even Web3 organizations, even identifying what that actual role is and to the extent of it. For example, people say marketing. That's such a big, broad word, right? But what does it really mean what is a branding partnership? Is that different than collaboration? Is it different from, sponsorships or partnerships? With the need for B2B relationships to be ongoing partners, I think that even identifying what the actual title or role is has been a challenge for a lot of Web3 organizations as well.
That makes sense. So,
do you want me to answer?
Oh, go for it.
So for us, we talk to a lot of people for devs, for sure. There's Solidity, Rust, Tosco, Plutus. A lot of clients talk to us about TypeScript, React, Node, regular stuff that every company is hiring for. And on a non-technical side, there's a content strategy, marketing, growth marketing, especially marketers that are super resourceful because it's a bear market, right? Guerrilla marketing, and then everyone's looking for communicators. There's some that are looking for team leaders because they're onboarding a lot of entry-level newcomers to Web3, and there's a lot of those. Like, if you look at Solidity with 7 years of experience, may not be around, right? Everybody has like 1 to 2, 3, or 4 years of experience, and those devs usually charge 50, 90, 120 bucks an hour or more on a contract. Smart contracts is a thing. So yeah, there's a lot of skill sets that you can use to build and enter Web3 with.
Did you get it? You get it. So what are some of the more valuable emerging skill sets that teams should be looking for? I know communication, community building is one that I hear a lot of. There's always been community building, but I think right now it's more important, really important, to find a good community leader. What are some other jobs out there that are really important that teams should really be focusing on and putting a lot of effort into hiring the right person?
I could kick this one off. I think it's, if we take a step back, it's general business acumen. And I think it's something that's missing across Web 2 and Web 3, especially with younger folks coming into it, not having the opportunity to work in an office. I'm not a proponent of working on site. I'm a proponent of work from anywhere, get your work done, do what you need to do. But I think that a lot of the younger folks and newer people in the employment are missing the mentorship and the guidance and being able to see how to operate in a business environment. And then you put the remote aspect into it and everyone's hiding behind a computer and communication fails. So I think a lot of my clients are asking us communication skills. How does this person communicate? Are they able to manage up, manage down, manage across? And how do we gauge that in an interview? How do we do that? And how do we do that as recruiters? How do our clients, how do we advise them to do that in the interview process? And it's tough. It's really tough out there to make a good hire who could communicate until you get them in the seat.
Yeah, exactly. For us, the culture is just work hard, right? Put in the time. If you're new, especially, if you want to learn experience or learn the skills, a lot of that is by just coding and putting the time in or doing the marketing, whatever it is, creating content. The other side is just participate, right? It's remote work, and you got to have the self-motivation to show up, to be able to participate in meetings, ask questions, contribute. We have meetings Monday through Saturday, 1 hour, instead of sitting in traffic, just do the 1 hour. And then the last thing is communicate and it's not just, sell or shill or whatever. It's ask for help a lot of times when you get stuck with something. If you're an engineer and technical, you get stuck in a bug for a couple of days, right? That's a little bit too long to be frustrated with something and be stuck. But maybe it's 30-minute bug, maybe it's an hour. There's always someone on the team to help, right? And that's part of communication. How often, how do you approach a person, who do you approach, and so on.
I'm going to answer this question from a slightly different angle. What are the skills? Web3 work is primarily freelance labor. Most people don't work for just one company. They are in many communities. They're contributing to many different projects. So I think the skill that would be most valuable would be time management, some sort of organizational skills, being able to say, I'm gonna do 5 hours for this community, 10, 15, 20, keeping track of your billables, and making sure that all of your income streams are being able to, they're being funneled into one, let's call it an employment vehicle, so that you're able to be compliant. One of the most dangerous things that you can do is earn a bunch of this income out here in the metaverse. You're flipping NFTs and then not thinking about your cost basis or not paying attention to you owe taxes on that. Anybody here familiar with Al Capone? Yeah, super famous Chicagoan. I'm a big fan because I'm from Chicago. 400-person body count. That's deaths, not sex. Selling alcohol during the Prohibition, racketeering, all this good stuff. And what did the government get him for? Tax evasion. So basically the government's saying, go do all those bad things, but as long as we get our cut, you're good. So one of the most important skills is record keeping for yourself and figuring out how much you need to set aside for taxes.
Yeah, I think also just one thing that's I think we've kind of substituted for like new innovative tech is poor UX. The best marketing campaign is done through product market fit. In order to reach mass adoption and onboard my grandpa to being able to use this technology, we're going to be able to like not have as much friction. I see a lot of projects that like they're just want to be first to market. They rush to market like, oh, we're first. Well, as you've guys seen, if you understand the history of technology and look back in Web 2 companies, it's not always about who's first. It's about who does it the best and allows for everybody to get onto their platforms. And I think just UX design and UX research and understanding the psychology of the typical Web3 user and how they interact with this tech is is very lacking. User research, et cetera. There's not a lot of roles like that we hire for that people are doing this research of like, what does a typical Web3 consumer look like? And what are their pain points and what are their problems? And how do we actually objectively measure what those are and then make data-driven decisions for our products in the future? I see that as a big need, and the companies that we've worked with have had the most success and are currently hiring right now in this bear market, not laying people off, are the ones that valued that, not anything else.
I'm so glad you brought up, the psychology of people in Web3, right? One very valuable skill set is being able to connect the dots. So just like someone mentioned communication, sure, internally, external communication. One is active listening. So one thing that I suggest to any role that someone would like to work in Web3 is really get down and dirty in a Web3 meeting. Like we actually like the degens, the ones who stay up all night, who go on Twitter Spaces, because they're the ones who are actively engaging. They know who the competition is, or even if maybe they're not competition, they know 10 different marketplaces. They know, hey, all these marketplaces do the same thing, but these two, they do something different, right? Or this NFT community, right? Sure, they do something, they're into weed or something like that. But being able to connect the dots is like, hey, maybe this is where our NFT community, our 10,000, holders or wallets that we have are able to integrate into their technology or into their community. Because when you pair up like that, that's a great opportunity for Web 2 or traditional partnerships.
So I'm a huge fan of timepieces, the way they transitioned into Web3. All their projects are incredible. Earlier this year, I was close to a project who, very similar to Time Magazine, they wanted to jump into Web3. So like, let's just drop an NFT and we'll be good. That's all we got to do, and we'll make money. We'll save the magazine. I'm like, guys, that's not really how it works at all. But they went ahead and did it anyway. It was not very successful. Well, it wasn't successful at all. But what advice do you have to Web 2 companies who are looking to make that transition into Web 3? Do they look to hire somebody internally, or should they bring somebody in from the outside with some more experience?
I'm going to start with this.
Please do.
So if a big brand were to hire someone, to work in Web 3, the skill I was just talking about, someone who's already deep into it, with the quote degens, meaning degenerates in Web3, but the people who love to mint, the people who love to participate, the people who are very actively, engaging, whether it's Discord or social media, the ones who are very aware of other communities, because that collaboration, especially, I keep going back to Twitter, but I've always felt that the big brands who just come in, drop an NFT collection, the masses aren't really feeling it. They're just like, oh, they think they can just come in, and that is part of the psychology of the masses in Web3. It's like we, and yes, I will say we because I am a part of that Web3 community, is we tend to veer toward the ones who have been there supporting other communities, right? The ones who have been there, debating in Twitter Spaces or minting each other's projects. And I feel that connection is what's lacking when the traditional companies come in to try to get engaged into Web3.
Yeah, I can add something on that. I think first off, like without going said, like blockchain as a service, NFT, it doesn't apply to every single Web 2 business model. So like the companies who actually they have like a real use case and utility for like utilizing this tech, that makes sense. Like you'll see like Polygon partnering with Starbucks to do reward programs. Like those things make sense, right? So I think the most important thing for a company that's maybe not as large as Starbucks that can't afford that thing is like, is this a full-time need or is this a part-time need? If it's a part-time need, let's outsource it to an agency. There's tons of great companies like Rapid Innovation that are doing outsourced management of like blockchain services for people to be able to kind of like bridge that gap from Web 2 to Web 3. If it's a full-time need for sure, then you're going to really have to think of like, hey, we're sinking in millions of dollars into this, and they have to make that commitment and to be able to build out that whole entire team of it's almost like a whole entire entity of its company as well. So it's a big commitment. And so if you are a Web 2 company looking to do that, you really have to be willing to take that commitment.
All right, I'm going to say it. I don't think that any of what was just described as Web3 particularly. I think we misuse crypto and Web3 as synonyms. Crypto is the tech. That's what we play with. That's what NFTs are, right? Web3 is the philosophy that leverages crypto, but they're not synonymous. So when a Web2 company comes and says, I want to do NFTs, that's not Web3. We shouldn't call that Web3. That's a sales gimmick. That's marketing. Does it fail? Fair?
Yeah,
No?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would say. Sorry, we're going to go back and forth here. So how do we define Web3, I guess? Like, we go Web 1, Web 2, Web 3. Web 3 is this like overarching idea to be able to describe the way humans and technologies are interacting with each other. Like you described crypto as a technology, I would argue that blockchain is the technology, crypto is a function that's built on the blockchain, right? Blockchain is the tech. Web 3 is just a way for everybody to be on the same page of like, hey, when you use Web 3 tech, what are you using? Can we, like, because there's so much miscommunication of like, and like buzzwords and like, you know, like acronyms and things that get thrown around. And I view Web 3 as just the overarching deal of like, hey, this is the way that humans and technology are changing and interacting with each other. The blockchain is helping support that. NFTs are helping support that. All of these things work and part of each other. But it's important for us to be able to, on the same page of definitions, to be able to communicate effectively. So I would say like Web3 is a great term, and it is overused, and I will agree with it. It's so overused and overplayed in marketing campaigns. But like, how else do we describe what it is that we're doing?
I think that's fair. And there's more nuance in what you said and less in what I said. I think that crypto and blockchain are much more closer to synonymous than Web3 is. And Web3, I would still say, is more the category, and it is how we should talk about it. And when we welcome these Web2 companies in, it's not just like a collectible that's not just physical, it's a digiphysical, a phygital, whatever the
Phygital.
we want to. I don't like the word phygital, but so like Coca-Cola does the bottles, right? And then they did an NFT drop with meme, and so that kind of, I mean, it's just crypto. Like holding on to that NFT or collecting it doesn't give me any sort of governance. It doesn't give me just voting, profit sharing, nothing. It's just it's a crypto collectible. So it is a step in the right direction, but I wouldn't go as far as saying these companies are embracing the Web3 ethos. No, they're just cashing in on it. And just cashing in on it, it's very specifically not Web3.
It's just a line item on their marketing plan that they're trying to execute, right? Like there's no utility, there's nothing in it other than a cash grab for most parts.
So like, I don't know, hire a Marxist? I don't know. What's the...
Just outsource it.
That was a joke. I don't know.
Anything you want to add?
I agree. It's all in the use case, right? To Web3, blockchain, it's just technology. So I'd say if a big company wants to get in, either hire a product manager externally or both, like externally, internally. You probably need both people to launch something successfully. For engineers that are building this, they don't care. It's just code, just a piece of code, really.
So when I first jumped into the esports industry years ago, one of the best pieces of advice that I was given was network, put yourself out there. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. What advice can you give to anybody out here who's looking to jump into being hired in this space? Or who's new to the industry, new to the space?
So if you're a developer and you're trying to jump into blockchain development, Bitcoin was open source, Ethereum's open source, a lot of the layer 1 chains are open source. We're building open source. There's a lot of projects that are open source. Just go on GitHub, search for a project, and the best way to actually get involved is, go on platforms like Gitcoin, Snapbilia, and others who have like gigs. Sometimes they have mentors and mentor tracks where people can just come in and learn, and they'll connect you with a mentor, somebody who has the experience, who has done things, or works in developer relationships, and can bridge the gap. A lot of the issues with open source software, for example, is that the documentation is not there and kind of sucks, right? So you need somebody who has the time, who can actually sit down with you and explain what it is that they need, what it is that you're building. A lot of repositories, projects have beginner-friendly issues on GitHub, and that would be the place I would advise people to start. Find a mentor, find a project.
I would say it's really hard to tell when you first start meeting people online who's completely full of shit and like who to follow and who not to follow. So going to in-person events like this is a great way to start. I would recommend ETH Denver. Obviously, I'm a steward of ETH Denver, so I'd recommend it. But it's free, and it's classically one of the best places for onboarding, like blockchain 101, like from the very beginning, being in the right room with the right people, talking about the right things, and not just like, hey, mint my NFT, which is definitely not what you want your first experience with crypto to be, because very likely if somebody is saying this to you, it's probably not going to be a good one, right? Just categorically. And then I would say in the concept of decentralization, the one piece of advice I would give is you need to be sufficiently decentralized. So when we talk about, is this blockchain sufficiently decentralized? Bitcoin, yes it is. Ethereum, yes it is. Some others that I'm definitely not going to name on stage, probably not, right? But what we don't think about as people is if you're not sufficiently decentralized, one funding source shuts down, and now you're like, well, shit, how am I going to pay my mortgage or my rent? So going into a couple different communities, meeting people, joining DAOs, saying I'm going to contribute a few hours here, a few hours there, you'll start to network naturally. You'll start to improve upon just the reflective nature of like positive sum economics. Because if one of your contracts goes away, you need to rely on the network, the people that you've met, to be like, well, okay, I know you've got some time that just freed up. You should come join our thing. We can pay you to do whatever for 5-10 hours, and you're just constantly going into these different streams of income, and you have now become a sufficiently decentralized human.
I will say, first of all, if you have a role in at a traditional company and you want to get into Web3, you want to transfer those skills, definitely go on LinkedIn first and look at the jobs. Look at what the job descriptions are. Look at what the qualifications are and see how that resonates with you. That's one of my cheats, because you always want to know like what people are going to be needing, right, at this time of the year or next quarter. So that was actually one of my cheats, by the way. So I would go on LinkedIn, and like last year I would be like, wait, MasterCard's hiring for someone in the blockchain? Because they didn't have anything going on, but I knew that they were going to create something at some point. And Twitter Spaces is probably one of the most overlooked resources. That is when you can get direct with someone. A lot of founders are on Twitter Spaces, whether it's a tech company, NFT communities, and like even hopping into Discords. A lot of communities tend to hire internally, people who are already members of those Discords. So even just being a member, even if you're not a holder or you don't own anything from that community, but just being actively engaging with with communities that exist now, it's a great way to just know, what's on their timeline, what their roadmap is, seeing where the opportunities are in the future or near future.
I would say get lost down those rabbit holes. Like, be humble enough to know what you don't know and get involved and listen and learn and ask questions, because those who know, and we could smell out the bullshit, we could sniff it out. So learn. And I love the idea of the reverse engineering as a recruiter, reverse engineering the job description. This is something I want to get involved in. What skills do I need to have to get that job? And if I don't have those skills, how do I learn them and find them? Mm-hmm. It's not rocket science.
Yep. We're running out of time here, so we're just going to wrap it up here. I want to thank everybody for taking the time and being up here with me. Make sure you check out everybody's socials. You can find me at C. Spikoski on Twitter. You want to shout out your socials?
Sure. At NHP Talent on LinkedIn, and on Instagram, and you can find me on LinkedIn. And you can check out my show at thepodcast.com.
Awesome. I'm at Nintran09 because 08 was taken, and or it was at Snapbrillia, Snap and then Brilliant.
Hi, Mary Beth Salas here. Thank you so much for participating in this panel with all of us. I am at Mary Beth Salas, Salas spelled like sales, so MaryBethSales, and you can also follow Ryan Labs NFT, which owns the Crooks and the Humanoids NFT, so check them out.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me, and I just want to say congratulations to everybody in the crowd. If you're here right now, it's a big deal. Being here means you're serious about this. When everyone's bags are pumping and things are great, and you're here, there's a lot of retail investors and people aren't here for the space. So because you're here today, it means a lot. So you should be proud of your presence in the crowd and your presence at this. I can be found at StrangeViews15 on Twitter. You can find me at my company at Crypto Talent. I'm doxed everywhere. Just type in Nicholas Strange, Crypto Talent, and you'll be able to find me. We also offer free consulting to the talent market on professional development and career coaching. So if you guys, anybody out there that just wants to do some like personal application on this, feel free to message me on Twitter. I'd be happy to spend 15 to 30 minutes to identify what it is that you're good at, what you want to get, what you can get paid for, and what like fulfills you.
And personally, I'm 0x Joshua SL on Twitter. Opolis, if you're looking to become a self-sovereign worker, national health insurance through Cigna, like being able to process crypto payroll, it's at OPOLIS. And I also have a show, Unemployable, where we do actually something very similar. So it'd be interesting to do a cross collab there where we help people become unemployable, meaning work for yourself. So opolis.co/podcast.
Cool. Thanks again, everybody. Thank you.
Big round of
Thank you.
applause for Hiring Web3 panel. Thank you so much.